your life. You got this. Go chase it, live your life. Enlighten you. Let the light shine through. Enlighten you. Just see it through.
I'm Melissa Thrasher.
And I'm Lolita Cummings.
Welcome to Enlighten U, EMU's award-winning mental health podcast for students. Today, we are honored to have a local celebrity and EMU alum sit down with us to discuss her mental health journey and what she's doing to help others. Hannah Palmer began competing in pageants at the age of 12, and this past year was crowned Miss Michigan 2025. Her platform, mental health. It was a milestone achievement that built on her long-standing commitment to education and mental health advocacy.
We're all so proud of Hannah, not only because of her pageant success, but also because she's using her visibility of her Miss Michigan platform to improve the mental health of children ages 5 through 12. In that effort, she also created a nonprofit organization, the Sunflower Project. She'll tell us more about that in a few minutes. We'll also be joined by our resident mental health expert, Dr. Aisha Mustafa, a licensed clinical therapist and an assistant professor in EMU's Department of Leadership and Counseling. Aisha and Hannah, welcome to Enlighten U.
I am so excited about today's show.
Oh my gosh, so am I.
Welcome, Hannah
Thank you guys
Palmer,
for
Miss
having me.
Michigan
I'm
2025.
excited.
And Aisha, we're so
Thank
excited
you.
to talk about your journey, how you got started. But first, I want to say congratulations. We are incredibly proud of you and your achievements. And I want you to take us back. You know, what was that feeling when you were crowned Miss Michigan 2025? How did you feel?
Truly, it was like the most surreal experience of my life. And I think I blacked out. Like, I only remember bits and pieces. And I watched back my crowning video and I'm like, I have no idea. I don't remember that happening. Like, there's a moment that's actually captured in a lot of the photos where both my hands are covering my ears. I have no recollection of that at all. But it really was like that moment of, oh my gosh, all of my hard work has finally come to fruition. Like, I get to live my dream. I get to go impact the world as Miss Michigan. And not only as Miss Michigan, but as Miss Palmer and as Hannah. And so that was just like the most special moment. And I've been so busy since then, just traveling truly the entire country. I think I've visited like 7 states since I've won. I've competed at Miss America. So I'm excited for my 6 months that are left to come.
Wow, you've been really, really busy.
Yes.
So let's talk about how you got into pageantry, because I know your mom had something to do with your interests. Can you talk about what inspired you to go into pageantry?
So my mom was actually Miss Auburn 1989. So she competed for Miss Michigan one time. She said, I'm done. That was enough for me. But then she was a local volunteer for a couple of years, which is how I started to kind of get into it. I would see other girls get crowned and go on to compete for Miss Michigan. And I wanted to be just like them because they were confident. They were cool. I was not. And so I wanted to be just like them. And so when I was old enough, my mom said, you should start competing. And I said, nope, they're going to look at me. That's scary. And now here I am today, and I'm confident as Hannah. I've been lucky enough to be able to present to over 25,000 people about mental health. I partnered with organizations as large as MTV to promote Mental Health Action Day. So it's just been such a transformative journey, and I'm lucky enough to still have my mom by my side through all of it as my chaperone, my road trip buddy, my shopping buddy, all the things.
She wears a lot of hats.
Yes, she does.
Wow, so fascinating. I love it.
I love your energy. I mean, you came into the studio and it was like, yes,
breath
yes,
of fresh
yes.
air.
But congratulations. I
Thank
mean, like
you.
Melissa said, we're all so very proud of you. And I love what you just said. You're Miss Michigan, but you're also Miss Hannah and Miss Palmer. So you didn't lose yourself into that crown. It just accentuates and adds to who you already are.
Exactly. And that was one of my biggest goals when I was crowned is I didn't want to just be Miss Michigan because you're only Miss Michigan for 1 year. The crown will eventually come off. So it's what is my impact going to be as Hannah and as Miss Palmer, and how am I going to continue that legacy beyond my year of service?
Yes, I love that. So you completed your bachelor's degree here.
Yes, I did.
You're working in your master's degree here.
Yes, I will be starting this upcoming January. I'm very, very excited.
Great. And then what's next? You also have your nonprofit.
Yeah, I like to wear many hats, just like my mom. So outside of being Miss Michigan, I'm a third grade teacher here in Ann Arbor. I will be starting my master's program here at Eastern, getting my master's in curriculum and instruction with a focus in instructional leadership, starting in January. And then once I'm done, doing all of those things, I want to utilize my master's degree to go and work for a social emotional learning curriculum company to develop social emotional learning curriculum and then aid in the implementation of that for K through 12 schools. Because like you mentioned, I do own and operate my own nonprofit organization. It's called the Sunflower Project. Basically, we aim to provide social emotional learning books and resources to help supplement the curriculum for students across the state.
Awesome.
I love it.
We're going to get more into that in a second.
Yes.
But the pageantry helps you to fund your education. I mean, Eastern
Yes,
is
it did.
affordable, but it's not free. Tell us about all the scholarship opportunities that the pageant provides.
So I've actually earned over $26,000 in cash scholarships from competing within the Miss America opportunity. I won my first local title when I was only 18 years old. I was Miss Washtenaw County. And with that actually came an in-kind scholarship to Eastern. So on top of my Emerald scholarship from Eastern and the in-kind scholarship, I didn't pay a dime my freshman year of college, which was awesome. And now with the additional scholarships that I've earned, I will be getting my master's degree completely debt-free from Eastern, which I'm so excited about.
That's the way to go. That's the way to
Yes.
go. So we touched a little bit about mental health, and I know I can just feel it in your spirit that you're a big advocate for mental health. And I also know, because I had the pleasure of talking to you before, that you lost a dear friend. Can you talk about your advocacy, the loss of a friend, and just kind of give us an example of what you're doing now and why you believe you're so passionate about mental health?
So when I was just 13 years old, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And at the time I saw my diagnosis as a death sentence, I figured, well, all I've ever heard about people who have depression or anxiety is that they have to call the suicide prevention hotline. So I didn't know what to do. And then when I became a senior in high school, I actually lost my friend Carl to suicide. Carl was the type of person who always had the biggest smile on his face and was always cracking jokes. And upon losing Carl, I realized that we had so many similarities in our shared struggles and shared experiences that I wanted to start to share my own story to help inspire other people to start having those conversations. And Aisha, I know that you are in the mental health field, and so I want to hear a little bit from you as well. What would you tell someone like going through all of these similar experiences where maybe they've lost a friend to suicide or maybe they're experiencing similar feelings themselves?
That's a great question. I think it's important to share. Like, I share with folks in my life and my students and everyone that, I go through the list of depression, anxiety, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, and eating disorder. And people are like, you? And I'm like, yes. And then it helps folks feel connected. They're not alone. Even though things can be going well, like, I see a therapist, I'm on meds. And then folks, my student afterwards had come up to me is like, thanks for sharing. I will have XYZ. Can I be on the podcast? And they just we felt connected about the experiences. And I think with suicide is so hard because for myself growing up, you don't want to ask people directly, are you having thoughts? It was like this scary thing. And so how do you ask that? Because something I want viewers to know is that asking someone is not going to make them think about it. And so I think it's a hard place we have as, survivors, you may have experienced well, why didn't I check in? Or why didn't I this? Or I should have known this. And it's complicated.
One thing that Hannah just said, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm always impressed by the bravery and the courage that takes. But one thing that Hannah just said was that your friend always seemed happy and bubbly. And a lot of times we find that the people who seem that way really aren't. People will die by suicide and we think they were fine, they were happy, and we didn't know.
Robin Williams. Yeah.
Right, and that's exactly
and
who
that
comes
was
to mind,
devastating.
is Robin
Yeah.
Williams. We're like, wow. So why is that? I mean, are they overcompensating? Is it a mask that they put on?
Yeah.
And is it possible for us to see behind that mask to see what they're really doing to try and help them?
That's a great question. So for some mental health disorders like bipolar, which we covered on a couple episodes before, is mania is exciting for folks. I'm the king out of the world. I'm going to have all these ideas. So no one's going to be like, this person has depression. And also sometimes with depression, the person isolates. So then you just don't see that. And also for folks, sometimes with suicide, if folks have a plan, they can feel euphoria because they know their pain is stopping. Oh. And then also sometimes for folks, it's not this long-term process of having thoughts, it could pop up. It's not that I'm saying it's going to happen immediate and then there's an act, but the fact that it may not be weeks and months of seeing it, on the wall. So I think noting that it can just look different things. Folks are feeling isolated, if they're saying things like, oh, I'm nothing to look forward to, no one's going to care if I don't go to class, just like little statements. I was like, hey, what's happening?
Yeah. I remember having the conversation with you, and I can't remember the term, but when you were talking about your close friend, you said that it was, I don't remember if it was survivor's guilt or something quite similar.
I myself am a 5-time suicide attempt survivor. And one of the reasons that I talk about that is because I think, like Aisha said, we don't talk about it enough. We're not having those types of difficult conversations enough where we're really being an active listener for the people in our lives. I want you guys to even think about, like, when I say, like, oh, how are you? We automatically respond like, oh, I'm tired, or I'm good, or I'm okay. And then the conversation shifts. And that's something that as Miss Michigan and as Hannah, I'm really trying to challenge not only myself, but the people in my life to change how we respond to that question of, no, how are you really doing? Because when we take the time to say, no, how are you really? And go beyond just, oh, I'm good, or I'm okay, or I'm tired, that's when we get into how people are really doing and how they're really feeling. And it also shows the person that you're asking that you care and you want to know how they're feeling. And I think sometimes that question can be scary because you're scared about what type of reaction you might get, just like how Aisha said earlier. But often then it's, well, oh, there's someone who does care. There's someone who is actually listening to
that
me.
cares beyond the one word, I'm fine. And I often say when my co-host says, well, how are you doing, Melissa? I just throw it all on her, but I feel comfortable in sharing because I know she cares about me.
I think also recognizing that when people share how they're really doing with you, it's not that they want you to solve everything in their life. They just want someone to listen and be like, yeah, that does sound really hard.
But that's sometimes hard, especially for me as a mom who thinks I should fix everything, right?
Yes.
And so I sometimes go into fix-it mode, and my daughter will say to me, Mom, I just want you to listen. I don't want you to fix it. I just want you to listen. And so I struggle with that. But I think, and you're right, I mean, when I try really hard to be an active listener. So when people, when I ask, I'm looking for an answer. And I noticed that my 5-year-old grandson does that. When we're walking, he'll say, hey, how are you? And they'll say, first of all, they'll look at him like, this little 5-year-old is asking me that. But then he will hesitate and look them in their eye until they tell him. And I'm like, what? He's this wonderful, sensitive little creature who will do that. And I love that. But a 5-time suicide survivor, what made you start to feel better?
So when I realized that I had people in my life to support me, and when I started to give myself the grace to ask for help, like we talked about earlier, I am the wearer of many hats, and I like to constantly be doing different things and checking things off like, oh, I completed this accomplishment. But I never give myself the grace to say it's okay to have a bad day, or it's okay to slow down, or it's okay if that one accomplishment is going to take you just a little bit longer. I really struggle with that. And I still struggle with that as Miss Michigan and having that imposter syndrome of feeling like I need to be perfect all the time. And it's when I started to hear from people in my life that they also experience those things, even my role models of other forever Miss Michigans or people within my workplace who I look up to, hearing that they were struggling to really help to open up my eyes like, oh, other people also have imposter syndrome.
Absolutely, we
and
all
even
do.
Being Miss Michigan, I thought that it was like, oh, as soon as I'm Miss Michigan, I won't have imposter syndrome anymore. I'll have a crown, like everything's gonna be great. And it's interesting to see that, like, oh no, I still have those feelings. Just because you achieve that accomplishment doesn't make it go away, but it helps you see how much more value you take in those small moments of, oh, I did accomplish that. Let me sit here and be excited that I accomplished that, and give
knowing
myself
that you're
the
not
grace.
alone.
Yes,
That it's not just us, but it's a common feeling, and it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. What stuck with me when I spoke with you a little while ago is that you, after the loss of your friend, you discovered that you had similarities. You shared similarities. And that struck me because I'm like, did you find that out at the beginning or when you lost him?
it was, so a little bit more backstory on Carl is I actually knew Carl from the age of 4. My mom was best friends with his aunt. So I grew up with him, and it was always, he was the one who was cracking jokes at every single event. And we were in band together. And
You were in band?
yes, I can actually play 8 instruments. Like random fun fact about Hannah. But what really stuck out to me is when he passed away, I was talking with his mom and I was like, I don't understand. And we were talking about things that he had experienced and I didn't know how much anxiety he was having about also needing to be perfect all the time and needing to have everything right and have everything done. And when she started to share those things with me that he hadn't, I realized, wait, I'm not the only one who's feeling this way. And that's when I started to want to share my story. And I've been able to share it with people across the state of Michigan just to say, you aren't alone. It doesn't matter what you look like. Mental health doesn't define you. And oftentimes when I'm doing a speaking engagement or I'm presenting at a conference, I always start by saying, what is the first word that comes to mind when you look at me? And I always get, oh, you're successful, you're talented, you're beautiful. And then I say, well, what you don't see is that I have depression and anxiety and I've attempted suicide 5 times. And it's in changing that narrative so quickly that it helps people to see we all have those struggles inside. And I share my story in remembrance of Carl because I wish that him and I had had that time to talk and to have that ability to commiserate about, yeah, both of us are struggling, but what can we do to support each other?
Love
Absolutely.
that. You're such an inspiration.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Really
yeah.
is. You really are. So in addition to that, speaking and sharing, let's go back to the Sunflower Project. So why children? Is it 5 to 12 is your focus
5 to
area?
12 is primarily our focus area, but we've been able to impact people into their early 20s. So our goal is pretty much children at the age of 5 up until about 25. So really that big bubble where we're talking about mental health, we're talking about our emotions, but there might not be as many resources available to them. So when I founded the Sunflower Project, it was in 2021. I was actually a student here at Eastern when I founded the Sunflower Project. And I was getting my degree in elementary education. So children were obviously top of mind.
There you go.
And as I started to do volunteer work in classrooms and work through my degree, I realized how many teachers were experiencing similar struggles of we have this mandate to teach social emotional learning curriculum, or we have this curriculum, but it doesn't have all the resources. So to say, read a social emotional learning book. Okay, well, I don't have that. And most teachers don't have the funds to acquire them. And so that is where the Sunflower Project kind of comes in, is we aim to provide those social emotional learning resources. We aim to fill those gaps in the mental health care world where people maybe can't afford copays for therapy, where they're scared to build that community. So we really work on fostering that positive mental health community and then providing those resources.
I love that. And you've been able to work with like brands, MTV. Yes. What was your experience like working with MTV?
So we have been one of their Mental Health Action Day partners for the last 4 or 5 years now. Basically what Mental Health Action Day is it's a day at the end of May that is just encouraging people to take action to prioritize their mental health. That's all it comes down to. So this past year, it was just about asking people how they were really doing. And that's really where that message of how are you really comes from, is taking that step to ask that second level question.
Yeah. Wow. You know, what fascinates me is that you don't stop at no. I mean, you just keep going and going. And in our world, in the communications world, you know, we get no a lot, but we just continue to go. What motivates you to just not give up?
I think it's remembering that a no just means it's a redirection, not a final destination. I think about it from even the lens of my 3rd grade classroom. I will have students who tell me no, and it's okay. Why are they telling me no about learning their 3's multiplication? And maybe it's because it's hard. And so I like to look at it from a different angle, a different lens of, yeah, this is really hard, but what can I do to figure it out? I founded a nonprofit at 20 years old. I hired a lawyer to help me with all the paperwork because at 20 years old, I didn't know how to found a 501c3. Right. I barely knew how to do my taxes correctly. So it was me trying to find someone else who did know more. And it was in finding that it was okay to ask for help, which is something that's really scary, especially when you're a young adult and you feel like you know everything, but you don't. At that time, even my professors were still scary to me. I'm sorry. I know you, but they were scary to me. And so it was saying, you know what? I don't know everything. And that's okay. Let me go find someone who does.
Yep. Yeah.
I love how you do that. So exactly what did you do with MTV and what kind of partnerships are you looking for now? What would help you?
So with MTV, it's really just helping to promote their mental health action day. So we're one of their brand partners. But moving forward, one of our end-all be-all goals, and this is like 10, 20 years down the line, is to open a private practice that would provide free or reduced cost therapy services. So then the Sunflower Project would offset the cost and help to pay the psychiatric care providers. So for people who don't have access to the ability to pay for a copay, we would cover the cost of the building. And that way people would be able to get the services that they so desperately need.
Love it. You're just co-owner of a practice.
Yes. Integrated Empowerment Group. So we are downtown Ypsi across from the bus station and take most private insurances and several Medicaid plans. It's important to us because with insurances, different insurances.
There's so many levels.
They pay different amounts out to providers who are independent contractors versus W-2. And with Medicaid, a lot of people don't take it because the provider gets paid significantly less. Yes. And so wanting to make sure that those clients are served. And so there are some, funds out there for folks who need help with paying copays or deductibles. So, I have clients who have insurance, but insurance is like, we're not going to help you until you pay $4,000. And you're like, well, that doesn't work. That's not going to work. And so we can drop that in the resources, but like the Loveland Foundation helps Black women and non-binary folks pay for copays. And like, copays, pay for services. I think they may probably like $120 per session up to 12 sessions, which is a huge amount. And so there's another one I can mention in the notes about for helping Asian folks. And so trying to spread access to mental health and what does that look like? And I think it's just important you're doing this work because it's so hard to get affordable health care. Even having an employer who provides you health care. And so this is all like a trickle effect.
And it's even finding a therapist or a service provider who, one, accepts your insurance, but then also that has the availability to service you. So there's so many different layers to it. So that is one of our end-all be-all goals. But for the time being, we're really focused on providing those social emotional learning resources. So for any teachers listening, or if you know a teacher in your life who is in need of resources, we'd love to help provide those. Most recently, we actually partnered with a local high school to provide high school students with social emotional learning resources in the form of coloring books and journals and stress balls, like something so small. But even like all the boys on the football team were so excited about this mini coloring book and mini colored pencils because it's what can you do to take care of your mental health?
Can you define social emotional resources?
Yes. So social emotional resources is basically anything that helps you to identify and process your emotions. So for example, a mini coloring book as you're coloring, it's something that can be self-soothing. It helps you to process the things that you're thinking about. Similarly to talking through therapy or journaling, those are all different things that qualify under social emotional learning, but that allow you through the resource to be able to do that.
So how do you fund your foundation?
So there's been a couple different ways that we've been able to receive funding. Most recently has been through a community project called Senior Survivor. It's basically a week put on by a local high school where seniors live at the high school for a week to raise money for local charities. So we were the benefiting charity 2 years ago, and we're still going through some of those funds now. And moving forward, we do plan to host a bingo because I feel like everyone does like a golf outing or a 5K. I don't run. Running is not for me. But I will play bingo. So we're going to keep an eye out for bingo in the spring to summer months. But those are some events that we're really excited about.
So Hannah, you wear a lot of hats. Yes. We all know this. You wear a lot of hats. And like I mentioned before, you don't stop at no. What advice would you give to students who aspire to accomplish goals like you? You started your own nonprofit. So, what would you say to students that might be interested in, doing something outside of what they're doing at EMU?
I would say never be afraid to take the risk. Never be afraid to ask for help because you're not going to know it all. I'm still learning new things every single day as Miss Michigan, as a nonprofit owner, as a teacher even. So it's important that you're taking the time to ask for help, but also taking the time to say, you know what, this isn't going right. How can I change direction and change path and know that that doesn't mean that it's all going to fail, that there's still that possibility of things going right.
Yes. Love that.
As you're working with your elementary school students, do you notice when certain students are struggling? Do you have an eye for that? And
Very much so.
How do you handle that?
So I'm lucky enough to teach in a school district where we have a lot of supports in place for students, whether it be our student support team or our social worker. And it's just in being a positive role model in their life and having a relationship with their caregivers at home to be able to say, oh, I noticed that Johnny, for example, had a really rough day at school. I just wanted to let you know he had a rough day. Are you seeing similar things at home? So that way we can both help to support him.
Because so many times it's the teachers who see the kids outside of their normal environment who notice these things. What else can we look for? Not just in student and young kids,
Yeah,
but in
I love
everyone.
it because I essentially teach social emotional learning in my college course for master's students where we're talking about how can you self-regulate for yourself going into student affairs roles. So we're blowing bubbles. We're creating your own scent out of like oranges and pine. So cool. It's so cool that it's sensory station.
I want to do that.
I know.
Aisha has the best idea.
I am in the College of Ed, so I'm in the higher ed student affairs.
She's got the best ideas.
You know, we've brought in our guest Tinker, who's a former guest here, who's EMU's facility dog, and talked about co-regulation, and I propagate plants. So like all these things, and so I think with students at like little guys of like teaching all their emotions when they're upset, naming like, hey, you seem angry. And then teaching them different things. Like one of the things is often smell the roses and blow out the candles. So smell the roses, blow out the candles. And so doing like cute things that they think they're having fun, but you're reminding them. Yes. Or imagine you're a big tiger, you're mad, you go roar. And then like that playfulness, and you'll see little kids, I don't know if you notice this, being like, so. I'm upset, Miss Polly.
Well, and it's like you said, giving them the words to describe what they need. I've had students come up to me and be like, I'm so mad. I'm like, oh, why are you mad? Well, so-and-so won't play with me at recess. And then when we start diving deeper into it, they're like, oh, wait, I wasn't mad. I was sad. So it's teaching them the right terminology to describe their feelings, but then teaching them those regulation skills and what do I need in that moment?
Yeah. And so when we're sad, like, what do we do? And like, especially with repetition, kids are very good. Like, okay, you said we're going to do this. And what's the plan? Because I think sometimes, like historically in the time I grew up in the 90s, it was like, they're acting violent at school or home. And why are you like, they just need a timeout versus they don't know how to regulate their emotions because they were born 5 years ago. And then you think about ourselves as adults, we're like, oh, that's really hard. And so kids respond to us. And I think also, you know, even the college classrooms, they're responding to us. So how can we do cool, calming things? And so like my own course, which you should take every other Monday, is I have a grant from the Faculty Development Center where we're doing cocoa connections. And so like a hot cocoa bar,
that's so cool.
and snacks, and like a way to be cozy because winter's really hard with seasonal depression, and something for them to look forward to. Because I think with social emotional learning, it's not a substitute for therapy, but it is something to add to that collection. And you're doing what's essentially is DBT skills, dialectical behavioral therapy, where how do you regulate your emotions? So the things you're doing doesn't require a clinical degree, and they can carry with them where I'm talking with them, but I'm not in their pocket. Yep. What they have in their pocket is the stress ball and the bubbles and the things that they can keep doing.
I'm glad you mentioned seasonal depression because it's cold outside.
It's very cold.
Very cold. Dull looking. And it's January, right? So I just want to go around the table. I mean, how do we, thinking about mental health, what are some ways that we can make ourselves feel better during this time? I'm asking all of you.
I get out of town.
Oh,
I get out of town to go where it's sunny.
Okay.
I have to do that in the wintertime at least once a month.
At least once
At
a
least
month.
once a month.
That's a good plan.
I've got to get away. Yeah, that
not
keeps me.
Not to somewhere cold, but
Right, somewhere warm. My thing is sun, sand, and water. But I also exercise a lot, but I do even more so during the winter months because that definitely, you can tell me what that does to my brain, but it makes me happy.
Endorphins, right?
Yeah, it makes me happy.
Yes, good endorphins.
Yes. So I always have my staples that continue is therapy and my medication. And then in the winter, thinking about, okay, what if there's a cafe I love downtown Ipsy called Bridge Community Cafe. And it's a community and free resources for folks and all these great things. And so trying different drinks and being like, hey, which one do you recommend? And then doing that. And like, I'm looking forward to doing those micro joys. And I think that's just helpful because the winter is just, for folks not watching in Michigan, the winter ends April 30th.
Yeah, I know.
And so
And it started way too early.
Like, just so folks know, it's not mid-March. And so that's something I'm excited to do. And then they also do seasonal changes. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Bridge Community Cafe and try new drinks and invite someone new and look forward to that.
You.
I know it. She's always telling us all these great ideas.
They have so many great things.
And you're so your community. If someone said define Aisha, I would say community.
Absolutely.
And
I
that's what
mean-
makes me happy. It's not just like hot cocoa. It's like this community place that does activism and has different things and brings people together. And there's board games for kiddos if they're there. And like they have vegan food and a lot of non-alcoholic drinks. Like it's just makes me happy.
It makes you happy. Yeah. That sounds good. That makes me feel good.
I'm very similar to both of you. Definitely continuing my therapy all the time. I'm very open about that because I think not enough people talk about going to therapy. Also going to workout classes. I will find excuses to not go when I'm going by myself. Like, oh, there's snow on the ground. I guess I can't go. But if I'm going to a workout class with a friend, I hold myself so much more accountable. But then I also like going and trying new coffee shops or new restaurants with a friend. I drink a lot of coffee. And so going and trying different coffee shops, like, okay, what type of coffee do you have here? What kind of drinks do you have? It just makes it so much more fun and rewarding. And then getting to catch up with a friend, it's like, okay, I'm not just going out in the cold and the snow to be cold and in the snow,
Right.
but I'm going out to catch up with a good friend of mine.
Exactly. Yeah. I can identify with that because I love community like Aisha, and I love food. So I love to go to restaurants. I do fit in working out when I can. But I like to be out, and not in the house. But when I'm in the house, I love mindless TV. I just
Yes.
love kicking back. I just
Always a
love,
good mindless
yes.
TV afternoon.
Yes, that's me all day, every day sometimes.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That
it
is part of your self-care.
But it sounds like what across of us is different things we can do in isolation or alone, not isolation with each other in different like brackets of like, do you want to spend money, not money? And I think also checking out the student center. And so there's like, I think it's called like winter scarves on Wednesday. You can get like hot cocoa and get a scarf, seeing Tinker. There's all these things that don't cost money or you could do on your lunch break and feel connected that can, put on your calendar of office hours and all these things.
Yeah. I love how the university really supports mental health, and there's so many ways to do it. I want to end there because it's a happy note, but we can't because we have to ask Hannah if someone is interested in getting into pageants. Where do they start? How do they do that?
So they can actually compete for my job in June if they're interested. I love my job. I've earned, like I said, over $26,000 in scholarships from competing. You learn interview skills. You learn how to present yourself not only in the interview room, but also in front of really large groups of people. So much so that I've even been invited to testify in front of the state Senate for legislation just because you can talk. I'm like, yep, I'm ready. Let's go do this. So I highly recommend signing up to compete. You can visit missmichigan.org to learn more. Our at-large is open right now, so you can register to compete at large for my job. You get a week in the beautiful city of Muskegon. You have the opportunity to win thousands in scholarships. Even if you don't win the title of Miss Michigan, you can still win scholarship money. So just by writing an essay, you can win $1,000 in college scholarships. Just by filming a video about what your legacy would be as Miss Michigan, you can earn a scholarship. So there's so many different ways to earn college scholarships. But then, like I said, it also carries you into your career. I got my job that I have today because of the interview skills that I learned throughout the Miss America opportunity. So I highly recommend it. And if going online is a little bit too scary, feel free to slide into my DMs. We can put it in the show notes too, I think, of at Miss America MI. If you just message me, I'll connect you with all of those resources.
Thank you so much. We always wrap up with Aisha, resources for those who need help.
So Sunflower Project.
Yes, for sure.
CAPS, our behavioral health community clinic, and the counseling clinic.
Okay. All right. Hannah, thank you so much. And we're going to put that ring. Can you put it up? But we're going to get a better picture of that crown ring.
My little crown ring, Holly Hardwick crown.
Yes, that bad.
Is it your permanent ring? Is it?
It will be on my finger probably forever.
Okay, no, but it's yours.
It is mine,
Okay.
yes. So everyone who competes for Miss America can actually get this ring. You just search Holly Hardwick Crowns, and she is the official crown ring provider. But they come in silver, gold. They have all different ones.
Gorgeous, and you wear it well.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
I'm so glad we brought Hannah onto this show. Miss Michigan, that's quite an accomplishment. But not only that, now she's using that platform with her thousands of followers to help the mental health of children.
I love that. I love that. And what I love about Hannah is that she doesn't give up.
Yeah.
She just keeps on going. And I think that message will resonate with our followers.
It absolutely will.
I'm so excited about this show.
Me too.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Enlighten U. Today's conversation reminded us that advocacy can come from anywhere, even from under a crown. Hannah's a perfect reminder that leadership isn't about perfection. It's about using your voice, your story, and your platform to help others.
If this episode made you rethink how you care for your mental health or how you show up for your friends, take a moment to follow through on that. Reach out, check in, and use the resources Aisha mentioned on campus. You never have to face this alone. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening to Enlighten U. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share it with others. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of one another. Y'all be good.